Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Tonight's thread was created in December 2007, toward the end of the first year of X's creation. The story is very rough in comparison to today's standards. However, this thread provides a window into the past to see how stories were written during the early days of the paranormal board.
Only recently have I worked up the courage to recount these events that haunted me for so long. It pains me to actually be typing this out, but the memories have resurfaced after much hiding and I simply must get them off my chest. I was still young when I bought my first apartment in the city of Nuuk in Greenland. I believe I was 21? No matter. I had just moved out of my parents' home in Denmark and was ready to start my own life. As I was now situated in an entirely different country, I knew no one. So, my first night in my new home was spent alone and in the dark, as I'd yet to have the electricity set up. I remember not the events leading up to the end of the day, as all that truly stuck with me was the tail end. As the sun set in Nuuk, I prepared myself for bed. I'm a night guy most of the time, but when you don't have electricity, things get pitch black and they get pitch black fast. I retreated to bed about 2 hours earlier than I usually do, and as a result, ended up lying still on my mattress for, you guessed it, 2 long hours. Sleep would not come to me. I could not even close my eyes. My eyelids would flutter until I opened them, and stared into the darkness as I hoped and prayed for sleep. Darkness is the only childhood fear that stuck around. My bedroom consisted of a mattress on the floor in the middle of the room and a closet, with the door closed. I hadn't peeked inside the closet when I'd first arrived, and so I had no idea what lay within. Imagine my surprise when I heard from within the closet what sounded like a boulder being dragged across the hardwood floor. There came a loud thud, and then silence. I was not too concerned at first, thinking it was probably a bunch of boxes that collapsed upon themselves or some such. I estimate about 10 to 15 minutes of silence passed when it happened. The closet door opened. You know how it was when you were a kid? The furniture creaks or the furnace rumbles, and all you have to do is hide under your covers and you're totally safe. Well, I'm afraid I did not have such a royalty. I was lying on a mattress in the middle of an empty room, facing away from the closet and totally coverless. I was exposed to whatever had just stepped out of my closet. Was it a burglar? A serial killer? A sane person would have leapt from the floor, spun around and fought whoever was lurking about. But not I. I lay there, frozen, my eyes wide open and my heart beating faster than it had ever beaten before. I expected to hear the footsteps of a man as he traversed across the room to kill me, but heard not. The closet door had opened, and 'twas all. Perhaps it was the wind? I thought to myself, should I get up and shut the door? Or do I stay still on this mattress till the sun rises? The horrendous sound of claws digging into a wooden floor rang in my ears. Whatever had come out of the closet had somehow moved across the room without making so much as a peep and was clawing a corner of the room. I could not stay where I was. This became ever too clear to me at that moment. I could not bring myself to look behind me. What if I actually did see something? Then what? I had 2 options now. One was to scream for help, but I was sure if I made such a loud noise, the beast in my bedroom would slaughter me before it registered in anyone's head that something was wrong. The other option? To escape. You may be thinking to yourself, oh, how foolish. You would escape from a room when you don't even know if all that bothers you is not but a small animal? Well, I was young, adventurous. Half of me was scared, and the other half was excited. Never again would the occasion arise where I would need to formulate an escape plan. I was getting out of that room, and I was hellbent on it. At this point, I analyzed my room further, and came to the grim realization that I probably would not be able to escape. The closet door and the door to the rest of my apartment were set right next to one another. I would have to bolt from the mattress and waste precious seconds unlocking and opening the bedroom door as some unknown clawed creature sat huddled in a corner to my right. This was not about to happen. Directly ahead of where I lay was a window. This looked more promising. The window was shut tight and locked, and had a screen on the outside. But the blinds were pulled up. This was a blessing, as I would not have to waste time and make extra noise pulling the blinds before continuing my escape. As silently as I could, I sat up in bed and rose to my feet. I took each step at a time, being extremely careful not to allow the wood to creak beneath my feet. All the while, the horrible clawing of the floor continued behind me. The 2-second walk from my mattress to the window took an estimated 20 painful minutes. When I finally reached my destination, it felt like reaching heaven. But I wasn't free yet. The sound produced by the unlocking of the window never once sounded so awful. Never did it seem so loud, either. I was sure whatever had emerged from my closet would hear me, but I was not ambushed, so I assumed I was safe. For now. The window consisted of 2 parts, upper and bottom. It was opened by pulling the bottom half up. Up, not out. It was clear that this would create a rather audible noise. Think of the sound made when opening a sliding glass door. I would not be able to mask this sound as I had masked my footsteps in the unlocking. As my adrenaline began pumping, I accepted that this was it. I had to throw open the window as fast as I could as opposed to as slow as I could. But what if the window jams? What if I slip? What about the screen? What if I can't kick the screen out? It seemed my fate was now in the hands of the God I had abandoned ages ago. Suddenly, the silence caught my attention. The whole time I'd been standing in front of the window contemplating just how I would open it and jump out. I had not heard any more of the scratching. My head turned instinctively. I couldn't stop it. I looked over my shoulder at the floor, and saw a horrifying figure looming behind me. The only thing my eyes saw was a sickly-looking, grayish, humanoid arm covered in bulging veins. And then those eyes of mine were shut tight as I threw the window open and hurled myself against the screen. I plunged 2 stories to the cement below. I didn't want to survive the fall. I wanted to die. I wanted to never have to remember the arm again. But I lived. You know how these stories always end. I was hauled off to the hospital and managed to convince those to whom it may concern that it was but an accident. After a few days into my stay there, the whole of the story hit me hard. I realized that something murderous had actually stood silently behind me and watched me as I fooled around with a window. I remained frightened of everything there because of this and would not allow the staff to leave me alone. 3 weeks after the event, and I was out of the hospital, as well as the awful physical and psychological therapy they put me through. I was moving back in with my parents in Copenhagen, and that was final. I'd only have to go back into my apartment one more time to get my stuff, and I was gone. As I sifted through the boxes, I began to wonder if I had dreamed everything up. The door to my bedroom remained locked, although the lock was cheap. I stuck my fingernail into it and turned, and the door was unlocked. Very cautiously did I turn the knob and open the door, expecting to find hellish demons within. But the room was empty. The mattress was there in the corner, the window was open, and the closet was shut. I glanced to my left and noticed numerous scratch marks in the corner of the room. But this proved nothing. For all I know, a squirrel or something entered through the open window during my stay at the hospital. I then turned to my right, eyes falling upon the closet door. 'Twas now or never. I really do wish I could end this story by saying I opened the closet door and found a monster inside that I then fought and killed, as I'm sure all this tension I've been building upon would do well for such an ending. But I ended up opening the door and there was nothing. The closet was empty. The only evidence that something was in the narrow space were these long cuts on the walls. Deep cuts into the wood like a very large cat scratching furniture. These scratches were enough proof to tell myself that I was not going mad. However, it is not enough for others. My parents did not want to hear about my discovery. I laid in darkness again that night waiting for it to find me once again.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.